nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please press yes to take roll call. We have 9 members present.
And Mrs. Tao contacted us here a little while ago. She is ill, so she will not be joining us tonight. We'll start off with public comment. We have a fair amount. We will start off, please, with Ms. Debra Ryan.
Excuse me, Mayor, I was the last person to sign up, so I would let the others go ahead of me. Thank you.
Okay. We'll start with Mr. Ely John. And if you could, your name and address in 3 minutes, please.
Thank you. Is it on?
You're on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam President, members of the staff and the City Council. My name is Ely John. I reside at the following address, 4809 Augustine Avenue, Weston, Wisconsin, 54476. I'm so used to saying the Hmong American Center's address rather than mine, but I'm here to speak in support of the Greater Wausau Prosperity Partnership, in support of the...
You don't have to be close to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't hear myself, so. But
You're
in
doing
support
fine,
of it, I know that the mall has been one of the largest, as described by Mayor Milky multiple times, the bane of his existence, oftentimes because of the, of the fact that there's been multiple attempts of trying to make sure that the Wausau Mall is successful. And I think by having a group that's locally interested in ensuring the success of this project, it would be greater if not only for the Wausau area but for the Marathon County in general. So if that mail is successful, Wausau and the Marathon County is successful as well. So I urge this council to be in supportive. And if there's any other questions, I would direct it to the proper individuals with the Greater Greater Wausau Prosperity Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you, Yi. Next up, Mr. Jim McIntyre. Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. My name is Jim McIntyre. My address is 1950 Woodbury Parkway, Wausau, Wisconsin, and I represent the Greenheck Group. I happen to be the CEO of the Greenheck Group, as well as the chairman of the Greater Wausau Prosperity Partnership, and I speak on behalf of both those organizations tonight. I think this is a great opportunity for our community at large and for our citizens to take a look at the mall and see what we can do with this beautiful site here. We, as a company representing Greenheck, we look around many parts of the country for regional expansions. And one of the key areas that we look for is partnership between the public and private community that we deal with. We know that it's going to be a successful opportunity if we can find that right relationship. We have a great relationship here in central Wisconsin, but as we diversify our locations to get closer to our customers. So I would urge the council to vote in favor of supporting the mall. I think it's, once again, great for our community. It'll be a good signal to businesses that consider moving here, relocating here. And we've got a group of philanthropists that are willing to support us, and that's pretty unique. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I strongly urge you to consider voting in favor of this support for the mall. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Gail Powers. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. My name is Gail Powers. I live at 5003 Riverbend Road, Weston, Wisconsin. I was the maintenance director for the Wausau Center from May of '83 to 2008. I just wanted to add that the Wausau Center has always been a unique mall, not only for the fact that it's a downtown center that made it, that was successful, while others did not, but it was also loved by the community. It was a community center in its truest sense, and I would like to see that maintained and restored. And I think this is the best opportunity I have heard to see that happen. So I would encourage you to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Nice to see you again. Mr. Craig.
Well, good evening. I'm Mark Craig. I'm at 814 Adams Street in Many of you know that I came to Wausau in 1996 to manage Wausau Center Mall. So to see us with an opportunity to come full circle when the mall was at one time the healthiest part of our downtown, and over the last 20 years, we've done everything we can to improve everything outside the doors of that mall. It fell into other ownership in 2000 with CBL, and then Rialto a few years ago. And it really has been a drain on the downtown in many ways. That pedestrian traffic that we'd counted on for so many years has dwindled to the point that there's almost no traffic that comes out of the mall out into 3rd Street. So while downtown looks healthy and looks great, there's still businesses that struggle to be successful. And what we do tonight with the decision on 6 city blocks, I mean, the whole mall is 8 blocks. We know home furniture is in a block and a half. And I was meeting with Mike, the manager of Home Furniture today, and he reminded me that Home Furniture invested more in their location of 100,000 square feet than what's being asked for the partnership of the city for 6 city blocks. It is such a unique opportunity. The fact that the Judd S. Alexander Foundation and Dwight and Linda Davis Foundation are willing to step up and take this role that neither of them looked forward to and wanted to, but they're willing to do that in partnership with the city is an opportunity I hope we don't pass up. I know it's going to be an interesting vote tonight. There's pressures in the community. Anytime you talk about a forgivable loan, people wonder what that means. And does it mean that we're giving away our tax money without ever realizing that money coming back? I strongly believe the stewardship that these foundations and the leadership from the city will have on that geography will transform our community for the next generation. So I really hope tonight you support this. We need every vote. I'm hoping, Dennis, you'd come on board and join us tonight. I know it's easy in many ways to say no when somebody's asking you for something. Tonight we're asking for your help. And we hope that you do support this. Having a unanimous vote tonight would send a message to this community that we are going to invest in our future, and this part of our real estate in downtown can play an important role for years to come. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shawn Wright. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, members of the council, the mayor and staff. Much like those who have spoken before me, I speak tonight in favor of the funding for the Wausau Opportunity Zone. As we all know, the current situation with malls is untenable. You know, at one time there were 35,000 malls in the United States. There are now 1,100. Estimates are that a quarter of those will close in the next year. Without this purchase, Wausau Center Mall will be one of those and join those ranks. That will impact all of downtown, including the Grand Theater. It will include the city and the region. This is an opportunity. Victor Gruen, who was the architect of the Southdale Center in Edina, Minnesota, the first ever enclosed shopping mall, said malls are dying because they never evolved into smart development. Smart development is people living, working, and learning in addition to shopping all in the same place. That sounds a lot like some of the things we're hearing about. It's fitting that it's the Wausau Opportunity Zone, and I know there's funding things with that because this truly is an opportunity. They are partners with a long track record in our community. They're invested. They want what's best for the community. They don't want to be mall owners, but they want what's best for Wausau. I urge the council to take this opportunity and approve this proposal. And for paperwork matters, because I forgot earlier, I reside at 911 McIntyre, Wausau, Wisconsin, 54403, and here on behalf of not only myself, but the Grand Theater in downtown Wausau. Thank you for your time.
Beat me to it, Shawn.
Exactly.
Next up, please, Mr. Dave Ekman. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Dave Ekman. I'm the President and CEO of the Greater Wausau Chamber of Commerce. I reside at 303 3rd Street, number 603, Wausau, Wisconsin, 54403. Had the opportunity to stand in front of you twice before tonight, and thinking I didn't want to come back in and reiterate some of those same words to you. Took some time today to reflect this afternoon as to what this means for our community. And so I prepared some words so that I'm on script, otherwise my emotions may take me elsewhere. In the digital world of Amazon and standalone big box retail brands, small and mid-sized malls are experiencing decline throughout the country. In recent years, the Wausau Center Mall has lost iconic anchor tenants, Sears, Yonkers, and JCPenney. Further, small retail chains located in the mall have closed their doors. Today, there are 25 vacant storefronts in the Wausau Center Mall, sandwiched between empty Sears and JCPenney spaces. There are no illusions that the Wausau Center Mall will ever regain its status as a vibrant, full-fledged retail center in the age of the big box retailer and Amazon. While some of the current retail brands located in the Wausau Center Mall continue to operate, there must be a rethinking of potential mixed use and redevelopment of key economic asset that takes up 6 city square blocks in downtown Wausau. Rialto Capital, or like-minded retail industry holding companies like Rialto, will not make the long-term investments necessary to reposition the Wausau Center Mall for future use. Our community's opportunity to gain control and set a course for redevelopment for the future of the Wausau Center Mall is at hand, an opportunity we should readily embrace together. Our time is now. On behalf of the Greater Wausau Chamber of Commerce and the Greater Wausau Chamber of Commerce Foundation, we urge the City of the Wausau leadership to partner with the Judd S. Alexander Foundation and the Dwight and Linda Davis Foundation to secure and redevelop the Wausau Center Mall. A strong hand of private-public partnership has been extended. Let us move forward together to vision and create a new Wausau Center for the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Laurie Wires. Good evening.
Good evening. I am Laurie Wires. I'm here on behalf of NTC. However, I do live at 1229 Evergreen Row in Wausau, Wisconsin. So, 3 years ago, I stood before you requesting your support to move forward with a proposal from NTC to form a partnership with a private developer to provide student housing adjacent to NTC. It required a change of a zoning ordinance to accomplish this. We shared with you at that time that it would be a game changer for our college and bring more students from outside our district, in our district, and outside our state to choose NTC as their college of choice. NTC's role in our communities is to be an economic leader, supporting our business and industry partners to meet the workforce needs of our local communities. You took a leap and you supported our request. Today, only after our second year of operation, we have a student housing facility at full capacity. We have close to half of our students in housing that have come from outside of our district, and we have 14 students that have come from out of our state. They chose to come to Wausau, Wisconsin, to continue their higher education journey. This has opened the door for our college to become a destination college. Where many higher education institutions are down in enrollments, I'm proud to say that NTC is up 3% in their enrollments. You had the vision and the leadership to support this proposal, and it is working. We have another opportunity to revitalize our downtown, open a door to business expansion, and provide an entrepreneurial climate for new business development. For our students, as they graduate, they will be looking for this kind of a climate in making decisions on where they work and live. We have an opportunity to work together to accomplish this vision. I promise that NTC will be fully committed as one of the higher education institutions to support this vision. You took a leap once before. Let's take a leap again. Together we can make this concept a reality. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Ms. Tammy McCann.
Good evening. I'm Tammy McCann, 175-245 Thumper Drive, Ringgold. I'm here tonight on behalf of Whiffley. We've been a firm in Wausau for a long time. We're getting close to our 90-year anniversary, and we support the downtown, the community, and a lot of the initiatives that occur. The one that's coming forth tonight with the foundations, we wanted to have somebody here tonight to just say we're really supportive of that. We think it's a great opportunity. The people involved have great business acumen, and I think it will allow us to continue to have the ability to attract and retain talent, which we look for in our firm continuously. So we just wanted to say we support it, and we hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Debra Ryan.
Debra Ryan, 702 Elm Street. I wanted to let you know, just in the last half an hour, I called Home Furniture corporate offices. I wanted to see if they had been contacted and are aware of what's going on tonight. From the previous discussion that was done in the last couple meetings by this consortium, they seem to indicate that they wanted the home furniture, land, and air rights as part of what the city needs to agree to, and I do feel that Home Furniture has been acting in good faith. They've responded to RFPs regarding the Sears property. The city decided not to go with them, and then they pursued the Yonkers and have made a major renovation in that area. And from my understanding today, that Chris Schock did call and let them know, but I wonder, why isn't the city letting Home Furniture have the land and the air rights right away? Why aren't they putting them as being first being able to do that? I think they do have that right. At this point, corporate-wise, they don't want to commit to anything, and I did not talk to their CEO, but they are all in support of the redevelopment and in keeping them all. Back in 2006, when I was in Madison working for a not-for-profit, I attended some training regarding nonprofits that are doing unrelated business income tax for some side operations, and that is considered taxable. So I don't think the city has really understood that the mall revenue and expenditures are considered taxable, and so that the real estate taxes still needs to be discussed more fully. And just because they're a not-for-profit, but they're doing this unrelated, not typical mission, that is considered taxable, and so real estate taxes should be considered fair game, and that the city should be considering this as well as the consortium. And for my opinion, how high we are with TIF, I do not think it should be a forgivable loan. I do think the city should be given full credit of having more than 1/3 that they're putting in, and that they should, in stages, hopefully be able to get that back as first in line. And I also think that the county should be involved in the discussions, because they're in need of keeping the ramp for their needs and maybe potential additional office spaces in the mall. Also with this consortium, there's been no indication of a board of directors. I've heard rumors that it might be a small group. But when you think about a board of directors, you want them to look and just really brainstorm. So in my opinion, they should have board members that are in the tech area, affordable housing, looking at elderly and visually, physically, and hearing impaired disabled, so that we're giving a clear overview of how to make our community better. And I hope that you will put that into consideration, and that, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. And last up, Mr. Blake Opel Wachowski.
Hi there, my name is Blake Opel-Husky. I'm the Executive Director for the Wausau River District. For the records, my address is 1401 North 2nd Street. So I want to say, first off, that our downtown is stronger than it's ever been. Evident that we took home the Great American Main Street Award earlier this spring, and it was also recognized from the Chamber of Commerce, Small Business of the Year Award recipient. I had the great opportunity the last few days to go around and chat with some of our business owners. I would say the vast majority are all in favor of this going through and improving the funding for the redevelopment of the Wausau Center Mall. Although the mall is not in our district, it's right outside of our district, we've always referred to the mall as one of the anchors of the downtown. And obviously, whatever happens at the Wausau Center Mall has a ripple effect, not only on our downtown, but the rest of the community. So I urge you again to approve this item on the agenda tonight and turn this weakness, potential weakness, into one of our strengths for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to file number 19, that's all that had registered to speak. File number 19-0921, a joint resolution from the Finance and Economic Development Committee approving the term sheet as presented regarding city participation in acquisition by Wausau Opportunity Zone Fund, LLC of the Wausau Center Mall. Finance approved 2-1, Economic Development approved 4-0. I'll entertain a motion to accept. Motion by Mr. Neal, second by Mr. Nutting. And Mrs. Rasmussen.
Thank you. Last week, we hosted a committee of the whole meeting where we allowed our council members to have unlimited question and answer time with the proposers. And I thank them for participating in that effort because I think that we all walked out of the room with a better understanding of things. Since then, our staff has provided us a detailed analysis of the financials of the project and how we get from today forward. And I just think that based on all that we've heard from public comment in those meetings and tonight, our local foundations have come together to present us with a rare opportunity. And that opportunity is to secure, for $1 million contribution, 6 square blocks of prime real estate. Whether or not that remains a mall forever is yet to be seen. But, and I had said in a previous meeting, I think that, you know, if we rewind back to the early 1980s, I would imagine that the redevelopment authority that was given the task of going out and purchasing and raising 8 square blocks of downtown to create that mall probably spent an amount that was equal to or greater than that back then. And we already have the $1 million. We have the money in-house. It's money we borrowed years ago with the intent to assist Wausau Center then. Plan didn't come together. That plan was not a strong plan, and it was way more expensive than this plan. And yet we managed to pass that because it was the best possible option at the time. Thankfully, a better option has come along, and that option is before us today. If we rewind to when Wausau Center was first approved, there were former council members in these same seats that had to make some tough choices, and they had to make some courageous decisions and look at what was the best for, you know, their community and for the future of Wausau. And they made those right decisions. And Wausau Center was an economic engine for this city for over 30 years. And I think that we now have the opportunity to make some of those brave decisions as well and push this project forward, secure local control of Wausau Center. The alternative is nothing but painful for Wausau and its residents. If this plan does not pass tonight, the deal falls through. That's a sad reality. And Rialto will immediately accept the offer of one of the multiple asset depletion companies that have also bid on Wausau Center. And so I think that's nothing but a negative outcome. We have had extensive public discussion amongst ourselves on this issue, and I think that we are well equipped to make this decision tonight. I encourage us to have all of our discussion and our action taken in open session. I see that we posted for closed in case we needed it, but we've discussed so much of this in open session, there's no point. I think that there's enough stakeholders in the room tonight that want to see the workings of their government, that I hope that we have this entire discussion in open session, and I hope we vote for it. And if we look around the room, and we look at how many stakeholders have come to speak to us tonight, this community supports this project. And I've been tracking feedback in my district for 2 weeks. One person out of 3,200 residents has called me with a negative reaction to this project. The rest of the phone calls and feedback I've gotten have been positive. and I certainly hope that that mirrors the feedback from everyone else's districts as well. The community needs us to make a courageous decision and push this project forward. So I'm going to support it, and I hope everyone else does too.
Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the two organizations that are ponying up some of the money for this, because they are great organizations, and they have pulled our chestnuts out of the fire before. In fact, to the point that it may start to become tiresome to them. However, I'm looking at this, and evidently Mr. Craig is singling me out as the one Grinch that stole Christmas. But I'm looking at the WAS gets a $1 million forgivable loan, which is a grant, gets property worth $650,000 what the city shouldn't have bought in the first place. It gets the air and ground leases. I don't know if it gets it under home or not. That'll have to be determined. And they get the rents and any other, as I understand it, any other monies that are created by the mall. And then Mary Ann mentioned that she's thinking about switching this into a tax incremental district. I think she mentioned some of them. But the problem is that the ones she mentioned are underwater. And secondly, right now, we already have in our TID districts $54 million worth of debt in those districts. The city receives the continued operation of the mall, of the parking districts, which over the last 2 years have lost $571,000. So it would appear to me that this is a well-intentioned, but this is similar to after the Titanic hit the iceberg, slapping a sign on a bridge that says under new management. The results are not going to change. I know there's already enough votes on this council to pass this, but unless the people that are buying it are willing to buy the parking garage for $1, and I have $1, I'll give them a forgivable loan for $1. It would appear to me that I simply cannot support this. Thank you.
Mr. Neal?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, at a recent Committee of the Whole meeting, I spoke at length on this issue, and I will spare you that tonight because I think I covered my ground then, and it's all public record. We have a couple of choices in front of us tonight, and they're very simple. One is to passively sit back and observe as nature takes its course along a probably largely predictable path and see what happens. Or we can actively participate and take charge and steer this property into the future. Those are the two choices. I'm not interested, I don't think very many people are interested in passively sitting back and waiting to see what happens. I really appreciate the cooperation and partnership with the foundations that have come forward and the support of the business community. And I think together, city and private sector, business people of our town are going to make something amazing happen that nobody from elsewhere coming in can realize. So I support this and continue to. I really hope that everybody on council supports this. Mr. Smith, your reticence is understood, but I'd sure like to see you step up and join us in unanimously approving this. Thank you.
Mr. Peckham?
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to start out by saying somebody would have to say something pretty ugly in the next few minutes to make me vote against this, so I'm with the doing the right thing here, but I do have some questions. So I understand all the little details. The resolution says there's a fiscal impact of $327,000 annually for 6 years, and I'm wondering what that money is for, if it's for promotion, for consultants to assist in the management of the place, or where does that go? And it's for 6 years, right? I think Mary Ann probably get most of these.
It's really to help sustain operations while redevelopment is underway. So, we know today that they're operating at a deficit. So it's our contribution to that deficit. There is going to be an evaluation of the accumulated reserves so that there isn't a significant amount of reserves that accumulate at WAS. So if the deficits aren't, what they're predicting they will be, our contribution would decline then.
So to keep the place afloat?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And Mary Ann, on the third page of your memo on item 7, the last sentence, I don't have the slightest idea what the significance of it is. It said, the last sentence says, the TID 3 advance on December 31, 2018 was $3.1 million.
So the purpose of that was just to put the perspective, District 3, which is mainly in the downtown and along the riverfront, has experienced ongoing deficits. The cash flows predict that those deficits are going to decline over time. And so, today the I guess, worst-case scenario for the deficit with taking into account our contributions would be about 2.2 million. So it's really just to put it in perspective that, today those deficits are actually higher than we're predicting will be the worst-case scenario in 2022 if we contribute that $300,000 on a regular basis.
So in advance is how much it's in the hole?
Yes, it's really how the general fund is supporting that district.
Okay. And then the language says that the loan will be forgiven as portions of the mall are conveyed to third parties. I don't know how that works. Is there a formula, or if somebody comes in and buys a third of it and they pay $50,000, why would that trigger the loan for, I don't get it.
Can someone else answer that question? I don't know if Chris is here, or Joe, if you want to.
Mayor, would you like me to?
Because
Just kind of mechanically, what triggers that and how does it work, and is there a formula or?
Yeah, but as it stands right now, the general concept behind that is that as soon as a piece of the mall property is conveyed to a private developer or somebody else who's required to pay property taxes on the property, in other words, it's no longer kind of in this holding pattern we have it in, that the property, that portion of the property, or whatever the equivalent of that portion of the property that goes back in, that same proportion of the entire loan would be forgiven. So if a third of the property is conveyed to a private owner, a third of the loan would be forgiven.
It comes back on the tax rolls.
Correct. As soon as it's eligible to be taxed again, that's when the loan gets forgiven.
Very good. Thank you.
Mrs. Rasmussen.
Thank you. And I guess also it bears notice that when we talk about tax increment financing and tax increment districts, at some point, all or most TIDs have deficits at some point early in their lifespan when development is either occurring rapidly or is just beginning, until the fruits of that effort start to gain traction. And so the key, though, isn't whether we have a deficit, it's whether or not those deficits are manageable. And I think that we should commend Mary Ann for her efforts to create a plan whereby we can create the possibility to spread some of the financial impact of this over time across 3 tax increment districts as the capacity exists. And so, are those deficits sustainable? Her analysis that she sent us shows that they are. They're not long-term deficits. They're a reasonable amount of time. And as development takes off in those districts, we should start to see that outcome look more positive. So I don't have a fear of creating a tax increment deficit in TID 8 for the flow-through at all. I think that that's a sound approach, and I think that she has taken steps to mitigate taxpayer risk. We always want to mitigate taxpayer risks when we can, and I think that the proposal we have in front of us is a good one.
Mr. Nutting.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the official elected to represent this district, I wholeheartedly support this amazing proposal for the ongoing improvement of our downtown district. There are words to lyrics to a song that I'm reminded of many years ago, but in a nutshell, what these words say is, may those who come behind us find us faithful. We are following in the footsteps of many faithful council people and business owners over the many decades of this community. And we want to be able to carry that torch forward in the many new improvements that we have. And this is one that we surely want to be a part of. So may those who come behind us find us faithful. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And we do have a motion and a second. However, would anybody like to go into closed session? Otherwise, you can call the vote right now.
Mr. Nutting, would you turn off your light, unless you want to speak again?
Okay. Proceed forward with the vote then?
All right, you may begin voting. That motion has passed 8-0. You said no? Thank you, I will clarify that.
Vote was 8-1,
8-1, yes.
just to clarify for the record.
Yeah, system didn't record that. It says 8-0, I'm sorry.
All right then, so at this point, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Gisselman, second by Mr. Martins.
All right. You may vote. That motion passed unanimously.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. We'll be getting ready for economic development up next. Thank you. Have a great night.